get to it without further ado. He is in the New York Giants Ring of Honor.
Yes, he is.
He is a former running back in the National Football League, one of the greats. He's an author, a co-host of Tiki and Tierney on CBS Sports Radio, and one of Braylon's friends. Tiki Barber, how you doing, sir? Thanks for the time.
What's up, boys? I'm doing great. How are you all, man?
I'm doing good. Tiki, the shoe's on the other foot. I get to interview you this time. I don't have to take
I
there and be
know.
interviewed. Shoes on the other foot now, buddy.
Just don't be harsh on me, man.
No. We're light. We're gonna be nice and easy.
Tiki, I'll tell you, this
nothing but
guy,
love here.
This guy is as persistent as it gets, isn't he? Isn't he great?
Oh, yeah, he is. I love that, though. You have to be that way, man.
Yeah.
You know, in this industry, it's easy to get, like, dismissed. I'll get back to you. I get back to you. You got to keep hammering. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm here, though.
I appreciate
you,
you.
Braylon.
Thank you for coming on. You want to take the lead?
Yeah, sure. You know, Tiki, just we were just talking about Tom Brady in this big game on Sunday Night Football. The Buccaneers going to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots. I can't think of a bigger regular season game in the history of the National Football League, at least in the modern era, that I can remember. How do you view it? Just talk to me about your thoughts about Brady going back to Gillette.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just another game. It's the next one in line. And if you are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you got to get yourself back on track after getting a little bit run out of the building by the Los Angeles Rams, who might be the best team in football with Matthew Stafford now under Sean McVay. So I think for the Bucs and Brady, he'll be smashing this thing back to normalcy. And, from the Patriots side, that's all Bill Belichick is going to do. Just another game. We're on Tampa Bay. He did take some extra questions regarding how his history with Tom Brady, which I was very surprised about. In fact, he made a joke 2 days ago when he walked into the media room and was like, any stories this week? I mean, so maybe there's some levity creeping in because of the reverence he has for Tom Brady. But I got to tell you guys, the one thing that I've seen all week long is how this is going to be, I don't know, distractionary. God, Tom Brady's going to be distracted. He's going to be emotional. No, he's not. Tom Brady has never been distracted. He's never been emotional. And the only thing that works in his favor is when he gets upset and he's emotional. And that doesn't portend good things for the team on the other side. So I think both of these teams, led by Tom Brady on the field and Bill Belichick off the field for the Pats, are going to be as focused as any to make sure that this game is played right and not with the emotion that a lot of people are projecting upon it.
Hey, Tiki, quick pivot. I heard you mention Matt Stafford, so let's take it out to the West Coast and the Los Angeles Rams. I heard you say the other day, you talked about the Los Angeles Rams team of 2019 was kind of a smoke and mirrors team, that this team that they have now, like this is the team, like the transition from Goff to Matt Stafford has given them everything they need to go forward and actually be that playoff team. And when they get to the Super Bowl, be a team that belongs there. You really feel that this team is that much better with Matt Stafford as opposed to the team that they had in 2018-19?
In today's game, yes. And so in 2019, we know what that team was built on. It was their run game, and Jared Goff would benefit from play action pass, and Todd Gurley would, who was the offensive player of the year. That was one of the few years in NFL history that we've seen the offensive player of the year not also be the MVP. Tom Brady won the MVP that season, but Todd Gurley was so good, he won the offensive player of the year, and he was really the catalyst. He buoyed this team under Jared Goff, who wasn't asked to do a whole lot. It was a lot of easy throws for him, and you even heard Coach McVay talk not negatively, but kind of like, yeah, this is exciting. I can't wait. I can finally open my offense now that Stafford's here. And they were not so subtle shots at Jared Goff. But when you look back at that Super Bowl, the New England Patriots, I won't say had an easy time because it was one of the ugliest played Super Bowls that we've ever seen, but they really stymied that offense. It was almost as if all of this motion for complexity's sake that Sean McVay likes to do, Bill Belichick just kind of scoffed and laughed at, and they ended up winning that game in ugly fashion. This Rams team, however, can score at will, and it almost feels like they don't need to do all those pre-snap machinations to make, confuse the defense. They just have superior talent at the quarterback position. Their run game is obviously hampered because some of the injuries they have, but with Cooper Kupp, who's evolving into a superstar into the league, and Robert Woods, who is just as good a 1-2 punch as there is, this team feels explosive. And you pair that with Aaron Donald, who's the best defensive lineman maybe in the history of the game, and Jalen Ramsey in the back, who is used so variable in this defense. They can do so much to you on both sides of the football, and it makes them really viable.
See, this is why you ask your big brother, who's been in it longer than you, who's been a player longer than you, who's going in the Hall of Fame, these questions. Because I actually didn't agree with you before having this conversation with you just now. I thought that they are a good team. I thought Matt Stafford was a better quarterback. But after listening to you break it down, you're 100% right. The gimmick stuff was the gimmick stuff for a reason, and you can't see the difference in Sean McVay and the confidence and the trust that he has in Matt Stafford and what they have now. It does look a lot different. And in the words of Calvin Johnson, it looks easy.
Exactly. And that's it. Let's not forget, Tampa was supposed to be undefeated this year, right? They returned 22 starters. I don't think that's ever happened in the history. Maybe back.
No, it hasn't.
hasn't.
It actually, Tiki, I said they were going to go undefeated because that's the only thing Tom Brady hadn't done yet. And then Matthew Stafford, of all people, shuts me up real quick in week 3.
Yeah. Now, look, they're struggling. They're struggling on defense a little bit. They've lost some of their secondary. It's why Richard Sherman, who was on the shelf really all season and probably wouldn't have played unless some teams got some injuries like they did. The Bucs defense is vulnerable a little bit right now. But you know this about this new wave of coordinators, and really some of them are head coaches, but they're also coordinators. It's the Kyle Shanahans and the Sean McVays and the LaFleurs of the world. These guys, they're doing so much with motion and using different players in different spots and confusing defenses and finding those mismatches, playing a lot of 11 personnel, so it's 3 wide receivers and a running back. Sometimes they go 10 personnel, so it's 4 wide out there, and that stresses teams who are traditionally, they want to keep run stoppers on the field. And so unless you're committed to playing with 5 DBs or 6 DBs at times, you're susceptible, and you're seeing these guys take advantage of it. And that's all Sean McVay has wanted to do for the last 5 or 6 years. Now he can finally do it because he has a quarterback who can read it all and process it all pre-snap.
Hey, Tiki, Tom Mazaway. I wanted to thank you for coming on our show here. Big Giants fan, grew up in Jersey. Wanted to ask you a two-part question. Two-part question on the Giants. Did Coach Coughlin chase you over to today's show too early? I wanted you to stick around a little. And then second part,
no, man.
Joe Judge and Daniel Jones now. Are they the answer in Jersey?
Yeah. I'll answer the first one first. He did not. Going into the 2005 season. So this was my penultimate season. I didn't know if I wanted to do it anymore. I mean, it was starting to take a toll on me physically, and there were so many other opportunities off the field, and we weren't that good, to be honest with you. And so I had started to think about leaving, and then both of our owners, Wellington Mara and Bob Tisch, got sick, and it became a year to honor them. And Coach Coughlin would say this all the time: "This is the team of record for Wellington Mara and Bob Tisch." And I had my greatest season, 1,800 yards rushing and 500 or so yards receiving, and we got to the playoffs, and we got smoked at home by the Carolina Panthers. And I just remember after the game, it was like, "Oh, we'll get them next year," and it's like, no, there is not a next year. We were the team this year. We're the team of record. Don't give me that nonsense that we'll get them next year. And I almost retired after 2005, and I stuck it out one more year, and I could feel myself slowing down. Right? Yeah, exactly. But I felt myself slowing down. I had these, 50-yard runs that were now 22-yard runs. You know what I mean? These 30-yard runs that were now 10. Well, I mean, for me, and so I was starting to feel it. You know what I mean? We played the Philadelphia Eagles week 2 or 3, I believe, that season, and Jeremiah Trotter beat the crap out of me. And I remember thinking, I can't get out of bed till Thursday, right? And I wasn't old, but I was feeling old. I mean, I had 411 touches the year before, and 300 and something my last year. rushed for 230 yards in my last regular season game and 137 in my last game ever in the playoffs. And I was just like, I'm done, man. I don't want to do this anymore. We were 8-8. Like, we struggled to make the playoffs at 8-8. I didn't think the Giants were close, and guess what? They won the Super Bowl the next year.
We know all about 8-8
timing
here in Detroit. We feel like we're the king of 8-8s over here. Hey, Tiki, I'm glad Tom brought that up though towards the end and the transition into the Today Show, because I don't think that you get enough credit for being a trailblazer. So many former players went from sports to a sports show. You were really the first guy to take a chance and to take that leap. Sports to news, sports to entertainment. Now you turn on, you see Strahan on Good Morning America, or you see Nate on CBS. Yeah. But it was you who really got that ball rolling and opened that door, kind of broke that door down, that we are more than just athletes. We can do other things. I'm just curious your sense of that, because I feel like you're a trailblazer and you don't get nearly the credit for knocking down that door.
Yeah,
100%.
well, I appreciate that. I think program directors looked at me as someone who lived in New York. I'm a University of Virginia alum. I understand the bigger picture. I can talk the bigger picture. I care about life and politics and social issues. And in fact, I ended up at the Today Show because I was working while I was playing at Fox News. I was doing Fox and Friends every Tuesday morning, which is our off day, getting up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to cover politics and world events. We talked nothing about sports, and it was fun and it was enjoyable, and I had a good time doing it. And I think my personality came off across on air. And then when I retired, the Today Show was a great opportunity for me to stay local in New York, not have to travel to LA with Fox Sports, and just be here for Football Night in America on NBC Sports, and then in the Today Show on NBC. And I loved it for three and a half years until I went on to something else. I don't know if I was really ready for that role. I don't know if they were really ready to know how to use a former athlete in that role, but I do consider it, something I'm very prideful about. And it started me on a new career in media that I've embraced for the last now decade. They were actually longer, 15 years.
Yeah. They threw you in the water and you learn how to swim. So it
happens.
Hey,
Braylon, I don't. It's a sad, somber moment, but you remember the shooting at Virginia Tech?
I do.
It was like April 16th, 2007. That was my first day on the job.
Holy
and because I grew up in Roanoke, which is only 40 miles away from Blacksburg, my mom and dad went to Virginia Tech. My dad was a football player at Tech. He was roommates actually with Bruce Arians. They sent me to that scene, that crime scene, my very first day. I remember getting off the air, at the introductory, hey, Tiki, welcome to the team. And something was like this, like chaos was going on behind the scenes in the production rooms and things of that nature. And I'm like, what's going on? You flip on the TV, you see this tragedy happening down at Virginia Tech. And then I get a call into our director's office who says, aren't you from down there? Do you want to go? And I mean, talk about jumping into the mix of it immediately. 3 hours later, I was on a plane heading to Blacksburg, Virginia. And I covered that tragedy, and it was figured out, man. I didn't have really a on the field producer. I was just trying to find conversations to have, and try to tell this story the best way that I could. Logged a couple of reports and sent it back to the Today Show for on air for the next morning. I mean, so yeah, you were joking about being thrown to the fire. I literally was thrown into it. But it was interesting. Yeah, it was an interesting journey I took.
That was I don't even know how to follow that up. My follow up is not going to be as cool. No, that's nuts. I think something like 19 were killed and 30 were shot or something around that.
That's right.
Yeah, it was crazy. But here's a on the lighter side of things. I told my mom that you were going to be coming on today, and she was excited.
Nice.
For a long time, my mom thought that you played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well as the Giants.
He did.
She thought you played for the Giants and the Bucs. So I had to explain to her how it worked. I said, no, there's two of them. There's two.
Yeah,
No, but
that would be a heck of a feat.
Hey, I'm telling you, man.
That's so funny.
Before you get out of here, just talk to us a little bit about Daniel Jones and Joe Judge. Are they the answer for the New York Giants?
I hope so.
Because I actually like Daniel Jones. I just think the Giants haven't done well at figuring things out for the past 12 years or so. And I think Joe Judge has a shot as well. So, talk to me about that.
Yeah. Look, I think, and this is the second part of the question. This is why you don't ask two-part questions, by the way, because you never get to the second part.
No, we are.
But to get back to it, man. So, look, I think we've seen some really good things from Daniel Jones these last couple weeks. In particular, the Washington football team game on Thursday night 2 weeks ago. I mean, if he hadn't had a 58-yard run called back and they hadn't dropped, I forget who dropped it, Slayton. If Slayton hadn't dropped that 43-yard touchdown, his stat line would have been ridiculous. 350 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, and 150 yards passing and rushing and 2 touchdowns. It would have been ridiculous, his stat line. And so he hasn't thrown an interception yet. He did have that one fumble that people got all up in arms about, but he's not turning the ball over. He looks in control and command. Jason Garrett is finally allowing him to use his athleticism to get out of the pocket and make plays with his legs. And so I think the Daniel Jones question is being answered a little bit. But it's the other stuff that's starting to creep its head in, the injuries and the lack of consistency, the breakdowns in execution that are getting frustrating for Giants fans. You guys remember last weekend, Eli Manning was put into the Ring of Honor and his jersey was retired. John Mara, our owner, got booed at halftime. He was out there with Eli and he got booed. And it's just, I don't think it's a reflection on him. Yeah, exactly. But it's the frustration starting 0-3 and really the season being over before it ever gets a chance to get started. It's hard for Giants fans to accept that and realize that this process takes time. Like, people are calling for Joe Judge to be fired already. I'm like, are you kidding? Like, pump the brakes, man. Right? Look what's happening in Detroit. Detroit's losing some tight games, but Dan Campbell, former Giant, by the way, my teammate, love that dude to death. He's got them fighting, man. Seriously, like, they fight to the end of games. They're not laying down. And history would tell you Detroit's never going to get it right. It doesn't matter who you put at the head coach. The organization is crap, and it's going to be faulty all the way through. But Dan Campbell is changing that, and I think it's a good sign, despite the fact that they haven't won yet.
That is great news and great to hear from you. Hey, Tiki, we can't thank you enough for doing this. We really appreciate it. We love you here in Detroit. And please, your partner, Brandon Tierney, was here in Detroit for a short time.
Oh, that's right.
And made such a big
impact. He
talks
fondly.
Absolutely. People here in Detroit love Brandon Tierney as well.
The BT Express.
Absolutely.
That's right.
From his days at 11:30, The Fan.
That's right.
It was great stuff. So tell him Detroit sends their love as well.
Yes, sir.
I definitely will. He'll appreciate that. He talks fondly about his time in Detroit. So good to see you guys, and anytime, guys. I'll be back.
Thanks so much. Tiki Barber, at Tiki Barber, and of course you can listen to him and watch him on CBS Sports Network. Tiki and Tierney. Great stuff.
Those are stuff.
He's got to go work right now.
Yeah, he's got to go right now.
He's got to go work right now.
Hey, I was going to talk to him for another hour, but he's got another job to do.